right. Good morning, and thank you for joining me here today. My name is Michael Frerichs. I'm the Illinois State Treasurer. Today is legal for people to use cannabis in the state of Illinois, for some people. However, it is illegal for the legal cannabis industry to use a bank or a credit union. This defies logic. And that is why we are here today. The inability of the legal cannabis industry in Illinois to use a bank or credit union for basic services such as check writing, savings, or access to capital is a sleeping giant. We have an industry that handles money hiding in the shadows because banking rules built decades ago have not kept up with changes in behavior and in law. As a result, we have a cash business involving more than $136 million in sales in 2018 that is now ripe for theft, fraud, and tax evasion. As residents of this state, we needlessly invite risk to people and property as that $136 million is shuffled from place to place in duffel bags in the front seat of cars or in the trunk of a car. We need to make it legal for those in the legal cannabis industry to use banks and credit unions. We need to level the playing field so that banks and credit unions do not risk being closed by the state or federal government by simply providing what they do best for a legal cannabis industry. Here is how we're going to fix this problem, make it easier for banks and credit unions to do business with the legal cannabis industry. At the state level, we've introduced legislation to prohibit regulators from punishing banks that serve the legal cannabis industry. No more worrying about being closed by regulators for giving the dispensary down the street a checking account. At the federal level, I'm working with treasurers from other states across the country, both Democrats and Republicans, to encourage federal regulators to commit to not punishing banks that serve the legal cannabis industry. No more worrying about being closed by regulators for giving cannabis growing operation a way to use a bank to pay their employees, not to mention to pay electricity and water needed at a cultivation site. Finally, within my own office, we're exploring ways to incentivize banks and credit unions to serve the legal cannabis industry. While these simple yet vitally important changes weave their way through Springfield and Washington, D.C., this is not a radical idea. This is working with disparate groups to address a problem before it becomes a crisis. This is building a coalition to address a problem so it stops inviting criminal activity that will undermine a legal industry and endanger innocent bystanders. This is working together to provide access and equity. Standing with me today is a group of people who typically are not on the same side of a cannabis issue. I point this out because it's very important. We are here today to we are not here today to reopen the debate about medical cannabis. We are not here today to further the upcoming debate on legal cannabis for adults. We are not here today to talk about potential revenue and tax rates and the possible impact on Illinois' budget. Rather, we are here today with a common purpose to usher in common sense changes to the banking rules so that those involved in the legal cannabis industry can confidently do what thousands of businesses in our state do every day: write a check, deposit money, and take out a loan. If we do not make these changes, if we do not bring our rules and regulations in line with our laws and our actions, we invite crime, we invite theft, we invite tax evasion. We invite negative consequences that will lead to the collapse of the legal cannabis industry. Standing with me today are Robert Berlin, DuPage County State's Attorney, State Senator Toi Hutchinson, and State Representative Kelly Cassidy. I invite State's Attorney Berlin up to the podium.
Good morning. I'm Bob Berlin, DuPage County State's Attorney. I'm also president of the Illinois State's Attorneys Association. The State's Attorneys Association supports these bills because they advance public safety. We're talking about businesses that do business on a cash basis only, and as has been pointed out by our state treasurer, when we're dealing with that much cash, the opportunity for criminal activity increases. We are about public safety, and that's what these bills are about. They advance the cause of public safety. And as State's Attorney of DuPage County and as President of the State's Attorneys Association, we have to do everything we can on a proactive basis to reduce crime, and that's what these bills will do. They will reduce crime, and allow these businesses to use banks, to put their cash into banks, and operate using checks, which is a much safer way of doing business. And that's why I support these bills, and that's why the State's Attorneys Association supports both of these bills.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Senator Toi Hutchinson of the 40th District. I'm here as the chief sponsor of this piece of legislation in the Senate. And as you've heard, this is something that we just have to do, irrespective of whatever else comes in terms of the legalization fights. This is about the industry that we have currently operating today in the state. And it's also indicative of the fact that over 31 states right now have some form of legalization, whether it's medical and adult. And the fact that in most of these states people are operating minimally banked or unbanked, we know what happens as a result of that. And so in order for us to be in line and up and running and have the safest, most regulated system we can in Illinois, we need to do this almost in advance of when the federal government finally gets this right. And because this is happening state by state by state by state, it's the one thing that we think will make the federal government move. We need to do this for the safety of our own businesses so we can make sure that people are doing exactly what they need to do for safe, regulated business operations. And we're blessed in that this is an industry that wants to be regulated. This is a good thing. So I stand here in full support. I'm going to do everything I can to make sure we get this measure through the Senate. And I'm happy to answer any questions a little later. I'm going to turn it over to Representative Kelly Cassidy.
Thank you, Senator Hutchinson. I am Representative Kelly Cassidy of the 14th District. I'm the House co-sponsor, chief co-sponsor of this bill. And really, I think that this is indicative of the kind of collaboration that is possible and necessary to see this industry grow and develop properly and thoughtfully in the state. And with Representative Jahan Gordon Booth, who's the lead sponsor in the House, Senator Hutchinson and Senator Staines, this opportunity for collaborative work, finding solutions, working together to identify the problems and solutions has been very rewarding, and this is one great example of it. Look forward to your questions.
Any questions for anyone up here?
What does the current law say? The current law, what does it say?
Well,
About prohibiting doing business with?
currently, it'd be illegal to engage with a business that is selling a prohibited narcotic in the state, and that's the real problem with a lot of these banks or federal charters, because marijuana is still I'm going to turn to my state's attorney here. Schedule 1, a Schedule 1 controlled substance, and that has provided a lot of pause for banks out there. And it's not just banks, but it's the banking industry. So what that means is even if your business finds a local bank that will do business with you, you cannot accept credit cards. Visa, MasterCard, American Express will not do business with these companies. And so even if we can find a state bank that's willing to offer a loan, issue a checking account, they still be a largely cash-based business for some time.
Should I add about what
Yes.
happened? Yeah. So prior to last year, about 85% of our cannabis industry was banked with a single bank in the state of Illinois. As the Trump administration ramped up threats towards the legal cannabis industry, that bank got nervous about potential backlash and informed all of these businesses that they would cease to have a banking relationship with them. So we've now gone back to a situation where the vast majority of our legal cannabis operators in the state are unbanked and operating on these, sort of moving cash around margins.
And maybe it's a question for Bob. Has anything happened illegally? I mean, has there any type of prosecution with what you were talking about in terms of?
No, I'm not aware of anything that's happened illegally, but certainly the great potential is there. And this is intended really to stop that, stop the possibility of that happening.
Are there any estimates of how many banks that are currently on the sidelines with state charters that would jump in if they received the blessing from the legislature? Because even you talk to some of the banks, even if it's legal on a state level, they're afraid of running afoul of the feds because their deposits are insured by the FDIC.
Yeah, so we don't know exactly how many banks are out there. But as the state's chief banking officer, we work with banks throughout the state. I've had many conversations, and there's a variety of tolerance for risk out there. As Representative Cassidy pointed out, there was one bank that, thanks to the Cole memo, felt that there was enough certainty they could proceed. When Attorney General Sessions came in and made certain comments, they changed their mind. They thought the risk level had increased. They were no longer comfortable with that. So if we pass this legislation at the state level, it will not mean that every bank hops on board. But there are some banks that would feel that it would be less risky if they knew the state weren't to get involved. There are some banks that participate if they knew they could have access to a linked deposit program that would have a greater profitability for them. And so every bank, every board of directors has to make a decision of what their risk tolerance is. They know the direction this country is going. They know what's likely to happen in the state of Illinois. They realize there is money there. They want to be in on the ground floor, but some of them, as I said, have a higher tolerance for risk than others.
But there's still the federal risk. So even if you pass this legislation, there's still
Yes, that's why we have three approaches. One is the state legislation, which reduce some of the risk. Two is offer an incentive through our linked deposit program. And three is working for passage of the SAFE Act at the federal level. And we think that by coming together with other states, bipartisan, Democrats, Republicans, to lobby Congress on behalf of this, that we think we might be able to change federal legislation. And that ultimately would provide more comfort to more financial institutions. I think according to our latest estimates, 33 states have some form of legal cannabis. That's the vast majority of Americans have access to either medical or recreational adult cannabis. And we think there's going to be a lot of pressure on Congress to bring outdated federal banking laws into the present.
Kelly, since you're also the sponsor of the legalization of marijuana bill, I mean, is this something that's, you've got to do this first in order to get more people on board if you pass this first?
I don't think that this is a question of first or not. This is a question of we have so many operators in the state currently operating without any opportunity for banking. There are a handful that have managed to create some measure of banking relationships, but nobody is fully banked. As the treasurer said, nobody can accept credit cards. This is as much about the existing industry as what we foresee moving forward. But as this industry grows, the problem grows.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you for watching the Illinois Channel. You may also wish to follow us online, where you are free to make comments or program suggestions. Get our breaking news updates on Twitter, where you can find us at Illinois Channel. You can find our past programming on YouTube at youtube.com/Illinois Channel TV. Or you can go to the Illinois Channel website at illinoischannel.org. There you can find not only our current video stories and programs, but also our library of past programs, as well as articles that provide additional information about Illinois issues and individuals. The Illinois Channel, keeping you connected to your state, your issues, your home.